welcome. So glad that you're here, whether this finds you still at the district office, in your classroom, maybe you're on the commute, got earbuds going, maybe you worked offsite today, wherever this finds you, welcome to the Wellness Education Lab launch webinar. This has been a day, years in the making. We are so excited that you are here. I'll be serving as your host today. My name is Jeremiah Aha. I'm a small part of the great team here at Wellness Together School Mental Health. We're a nonprofit based in California that partners with schools to increase access to mental health services. And part of that is to provide free interventions for you and your school communities. And so that's what today is about. Thank you so much for being here. Let's go a little bit about you. Where are you joining from? You've done this for a few years now. Throw it in the chat. Where are you joining from? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Throw in the chat, maybe city and state. Where are y'all joining in from? Let's take a peek. I'm going to see if I can keep up, because whenever we ask this, it just is a waterfall of comments that are coming in. I got a couple of screens that can help me out. We got Minnesota, I saw. We've got Oakland, East Bay in the house, New Jersey, Napa, San Jose. We got Arlington, VA. Shout out to the East Coast, Seattle, Hawaii. I was going to say your name, but it already passed through. Who else we got over here? We got San Francisco, Peyton, Colorado, Aurora, Illinois, Maywood, Illinois, Boston. Shout out to Boston, Costa Mesa. Shout out to Orange County, Porterville. We are all across the nation. Oh, someone said 30 years in LA County. We got Nuevo, California. So glad that you are here. I see the San Diego's in the house. Shout out to the 619. Very cool. I just want to pause real quick and say I'm wearing the purple tie because 3 words, as we're based in Sacramento: light the beam. And if you know what I'm talking about, if you know, you know. It's an exciting day here in Northern California. Kings are up 2-0 on the Warriors. No love lost against our Dubs fans or the Clippers or anyone else. We're just a little excited over here. It has been a long time. All right. Hey, what do you do? What's your role? Throw in the chat. What do you do? What do you do? How are you serving students and families in your community? What capacity are you serving in? What capacity are you serving in? A wellness counselor. We have a parent. That's great. A school counselor, assistant principal. Shout out to admin that's here. Teachers. Oh my gosh. Y'all are just going for it. School psychologist. Great. We got a wellness center leader, a PE teacher, paraeducator, elementary counselor, uplift yoga, self-care to educators. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Excellent. A health worker, an SLP, education specialist, an ED of student wellness and school culture. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. So excited that you are here. Well, welcome to the Wellness Education Lab launch webinar with a very special thanks to the California Department of Education, our partners in this work. And we're here today to describe the free mental health and online mental health training, not only for you, for your staff, for your students, and to your parents and guardians there in your school community. So here's a few other ways that you can get engaged. Number one, if you've been a part of a Wellness Together event in the past 3 years, you're very familiar with Chantel Irvin. We call her Shani, but on events, she's on the 1s and 2s, and that is the DJ equivalent of overseeing all the Zoom chats that are happening. So Shani, thanks so much. She's putting links in there. She can answer questions. She's got some real eye-catching emojis for y'all. So feel free to take a look at the chat as we're rolling along for additional information. Shani, shout out to you. Thanks so much for just providing excellence and support there in the chat. All right, here's a few other ways to engage with us today at the WEL launch webinar. All right, we would love to see some hashtags there on social networks. Any of those social networks that you're on, we'd love to see it. Hashtag WEL trainings. Or you can follow us if you're not already at Wellness Ed Lab, at Wellness Ed Lab on all major platforms. And let's use that hashtag for those of you that might be familiar with what this character, you're going to get to know who that character is. Their name is Xenon, and Xenon's really going to be the host and the tour guide of the Wellness Education Lab. And Xenon there is holding their certificate of completion for completing the first module, Rethinking Anxiety. We'll talk about the other machine here as well. So go ahead and engage with us on social. Would love to see that. Would love to repost that. We're very, very excited. We want to hear how this has already benefited you, or how you plan other ways to engage during your time here. We're going to be Q&A scientists and researchers in the world, particularly around acceptance and commitment therapy. We call him Dr. C. His name is Dr. Joseph Cherokee. If you would like to ask a question later, we're going to be having a conversation. Go ahead and scan there. And Shani, I bet, has already put the link there in the chat, or submit your feedback. And I know, we just started, so you may be thinking, how am I going to leave feedback? We just got going. Really? What this is for, just so you know, is we want to know that you're here. Yes, we want to know how we can improve, how this experience can be more helpful for you, but also we want to give away 5 copies of Dr. Cherokee's book, Your Life, Your Way, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy Skills to Help Teens Manage Emotions and Build Resilience. We have 5 copies we're going to give away at the end. And the way you can enter to do that is by filling out one of these forms here on submitting a question or submitting your feedback. All right, so go ahead and take a scan there, or click the link that should be there in the chat. All right, what is WEL? Maybe someone on your team invited you to this. They forwarded you the invite. Maybe they're a part of your site teams, and someone said, this is what we're doing for our professional learning time today. This is what WEL is. Number one, it is online mental health training created by the leading mental health experts in the world. And that is not hyperbole. You'll get to hear from Dr. Cherokee later, and also has been contributed to by Dr. Louise Hayes. And these are leaders in acceptance and commitment therapy. And you're going to get a chance to hear a little bit later from our founder and CEO on why this is so important in today's age for all of us, not just our students. Number two, you're going to receive practical skills that you can use today after completing the training, which takes less than 1 hour. So we're talking 45 to 60 minutes. 45 to 60 minutes online. It is evidence-based, and it is designed to increase mental health literacy. This is practical, this is empowering, this is forward-thinking training. So it's online, it's going to be asynchronous. So if you need to start and stop, that's quite all right. Accessible on any device that can access Wi-Fi. One of the big distinctions of this particular online mental health training is every training has 3 different modules for 3 very unique audiences and their needs. Number one, for students 13 and above. We recommend for middle school and high school students, we really defer to you all on the knowledge and the awareness that you have of your school needs, and if maybe 6th graders, even 5th graders could navigate this, okay, maybe you do it with them. We recommend 13 plus, so middle school and high school. So that's audience 1. Audience 2, parents and guardians, those families that you're working with. And actually today, what is launching also for parents and guardians, it is available in Spanish. Available in Spanish for parents and guardians, with more languages coming to more modules and additional languages as we move forward, all right? And lastly, we have a module for educators and school staff. For those last 2 audiences, it's going to be half for ourselves as educators or as parents or guardians, and half on how to support students, all right? So 3 different unique modules for each training. And finally, this might be particularly important for those of you that are here serving students and families in California. Wellness Education Lab has been intentionally designed to align with the recently passed Senate Bill 224. Shout out to Senator Portantino and his team for authoring that. And it aligns with that on mental health education for students. And also for those within health ed, this does align with California's mental, emotional, and social health standards. So it fits right into some of those requirements that you already have. So that's a little bit of the what. We're going to give you a little bit of the who on who has been involved in this. And so actually real quick, let me show you just the trainings. We talked about rethinking anxiety, and the other one that's launching today is also mental health foundations. Again, about 60 minutes or less. Both of these are going to go live, and you can get started today on these, maybe preview them before you let your site teams know or your students that you're serving know. 2 unique different trainings, mental health foundations and rethinking anxiety is what they're called. We're very, very excited. All right. We already kind of went over who's WEL for, but just to say it again, if you came in just a little bit late, no shame. Students 13 and above, educators and school staff, parents and guardians, 3 different unique modules for those 3 unique audiences. All right. I want to actually turn it over to Marlon Morgan. He is our founder and CEO of Wellness Together School Mental Health. And just by way of introduction, we are a California-based national nonprofit organization. And Marlon works with school districts, universities, and the US Department of Education to increase awareness, advocacy, and access to mental health interventions for students, families, and school staff, as well as working with state offices of education. Marlon is a curriculum consultant for the Harvard Medical School and works with leading corporations, including Amazon, to support employee mental health and well-being. He's received special recognition from the US Congress, California State Senate, and the California State Assembly for his innovative work promoting mental health and wellness in education, and is listed as one of the Sacramento Business Journal's most admired CEOs. He is an honorary faculty member at the USC Suzanne Dvorak Peck School of Social Work. He began his career as a school counselor. Shout out to school counselors and PPS folks that are there joining us. That's how he began, and then became a licensed professional clinical counselor and began creating student support programs for underserved students in an effort to close that achievement gap. He was appointed by the California State Superintendent of Public Instruction in 2016 to develop policy recommendations for the SSPI and the California State Legislature. He lives in Northern California with his wife and 2 sons. I'll go ahead and toss it over to Marlon Morgan.
Hi, I'm Marlon Morgan, founder and CEO here at Wellness Together. Today we are celebrating the launch of Wellness Education Lab, a free online mental health resource for students, families, educators, and school staff. I want to thank you for joining us in what has become a powerful movement, ensuring free access to the tools and the professionals we all need to improve our mental health. Wellness Education Lab has been years in the making, and I want to thank the California Department of Education, Blue Shield of California, Dr. Stephen Hayes, Dr. Joseph Cherokee, Dr. Louise Hayes, California Deputy Superintendent Steve Zimmer, and the California State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurman. Last but absolutely not least, I want to thank the incredible and dedicated team here at Wellness Together for making Wellness Education Lab possible. Today we live in a world where students and families are looking for more support than ever before from their school communities. Teachers are being asked to provide social emotional learning opportunities. School counselors, school psychologists, and school social workers are feeling the burden of the mental health needs on our campuses. That is why we have worked so hard to create a mental health resource for students, families, educators, and school staff that is practical, forward-thinking, and evidence-based. Our incredible partners at the California Department of Education have made this resource free for students everywhere. Wellness Education Lab is a resource students can use immediately to navigate common mental health challenges. It's an engaging platform that gives us access to the leading minds in mental health. WEL removes barriers to increase resilience and decrease stigma in our school communities. Both of the modules, Rethinking Anxiety and Mental Health Foundations, are based on research-backed acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, with over 900 peer-reviewed studies to demonstrate its effectiveness. ACT is an evolved form of cognitive behavior therapy, or CBT. And students have told us for years that CBT alone feels more like a Band-Aid than a cure. ACT builds on CBT and moves beyond searching for and replacing automatic negative thoughts, inviting us to identify our personal values as a roadmap to improved mental health. It's no longer enough just to find and replace our negative thoughts. In our modern age, many of us are so distracted that our thoughts have become merely reactions to what we see on our screens. And we can make ourselves miserable, constantly looking for distractions to avoid life's painful realities. Acceptance and commitment therapy invites us to accept painful thoughts and experiences as a normal part of life, so that we can commit to a life guided by what and who we value most. ACT provides a way out of the distracted, reactive content consumption students think will make them happy. It asks us and them to focus on what the research tells us will actually make us happier, healthier, and more fulfilled. and that is living out our chosen purpose in meaningful connection with each other. Our students today haven't lost connection with some mental toughness of past generations, but many of them have lost meaningful connection with each other and to themselves. As educators, we have this incredible opportunity to lead our students out of distraction, disconnection, and discontent, where their attention is bought and sold, to a place of self-discovery and deep, meaningful connection with each other. Thank you again for making student mental health a priority. I can't wait to see how you use these tools to create positive change in this and future generations. We really hope you like it.
We're going to throw it over to our partners at California Department of Education. And I'm very, very glad to announce that Rico Petrino is here with us. And they are an education programs assistant for the Office of School-Based Health Programs in the Whole Child Division for the Student Support Services Branch, and also has the title of the longest title of the California Department of Education. Nevertheless, we're so glad to have you here, Rico. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, and thanks for your partnership on launching Wellness Education Lab.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeremiah, for that wonderful introduction. Yeah, just in case you missed it the first time, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Rico Petrino. I'm the Education Program Assistant for the Office of School-Based Health Programs at the California Department of Education. I'm here on behalf of the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurmond, to discuss how the Wellness Education Lab aligns with his initiatives and priorities to transform our California K-12 public schools through integrating new programs and strategies for students, families, educators, and LEAs. We are thrilled to join Wellness Together at the launch of this innovative training suite, as it supports one of the superintendent's main initiatives, which is to ensure the mental and emotional well-being of all California students. Suicide rates among those ages 10 to 24 have increased over the last decade, and child and adolescent mental health hospitalizations and suicidal behavior have increased exponentially for our youth. The COVID-19 pandemic has only exacerbated these issues, causing additional stress and anxiety among children and adolescents. Recognizing this crisis, the Wellness Education Lab was developed through a grant opportunity offered by the Californians Dedicated to Education Foundation. The goal of this program was to develop a set of online trainings that can help educators, credentialed and classified staff, parents and families, and middle and high school students increase their knowledge about student mental health and wellness. Additionally, the program aims to equip participants with strategies to support students who may be experiencing emotional or behavioral health issues. The program was funded by Blue Shield's Blue Sky initiative and is intended to provide a suite of online suicide prevention training programs that can be used by local educational agencies serving pupils in grades 7 through 12. It will also serve to meet requirements set forth in Ed Code Section 215, specifically addressing pupil and student suicide prevention policies. Wellness Together was selected through the competitive grant process to develop this program, and work commenced in 2022. The program is designed to be easily accessible to school communities and will not include access codes, invitations, or other barriers to begin or complete the trainings. Each module will collect participant information to track aggregate statewide usage and measure training outcomes. The Wellness Education Lab is a critical program developed to address the growing mental health crisis among our youth. The suite of online asynchronous trainings provides a comprehensive approach to support the mental well-being of children and adolescents, while also helping educators, staff, and parents identify and refer those who may be experiencing a mental health crisis to appropriate resources. We are so grateful for the efforts of the Wellness Together team, for their incredible work in designing and implementing this life-saving resource, and look forward to the impact this program will have in the lives of our school communities across California and beyond. Thank you.
Rico, thank you very much. I appreciate you highlighting that we have done our best to remove any type of barriers, especially around technology or signing in, needing access to this. So thank you for highlighting that. Thank you for the work that you and the Office of School-Based Health Programs are doing to make sure this is a free intervention for students across not only California, the US, and even the English-speaking world, I can say as well. And real quick, because I just got word that there are many of you that are already going and launching the training, which is very, very exciting. It has not hurt my feelings that your attention is divided and you're going over to wellnessedlab.org to check it out. Just want to give you a heads up. We have also tried our best to make sure that all protocol and security backend things are buttoned up. But in the event that there's a little bit of a delay, just know it's because there are X number of individuals trying to log on at the same time. So just bear with us. Everything should be fine, but I just want to get ahead of it. If it does lag a little bit, we've planned as best we can to make sure that you're still able to get there. It could be just a little bit of a delay, but that's exciting to know that you're already there and engaging with the training. All right. Well, let's continue to move on, and let me share something here real quick before I introduce our next guest, which I'm very excited about. We have the content author and someone who's been doing this work for decades. His name is Dr. Joseph Cherokee, and he is among the top, I'm telling y'all, this wasn't hyperbole before, the top 1% most cited scientists in the world for his revolutionary work on the development and promotion of well-being. He's a professor at the Institute for Positive Psychology and Education at Australian Catholic University. He has published more than 160 scientific journal articles and many books, including Your Life, Your Way, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy Skill to help teens manage emotions and build resilience. And another great one, you can see it there on the screen, What Makes You Stronger? How to Thrive in the Face of Uncertainty Using Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, all the way from Australia. I think it's Wednesday morning for you, Dr. C. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello. Hi. Hello, everybody. It's I can tell you it's tomorrow, and the world is still here. So
Okay.
You guys will be pleased to hear that.
Very comforting, very comforting. Well, go ahead and share a little bit about yourself, Dr. C, beyond what I already had the chance to share with our attendees or those that are going to be watching this, the recorded version, and maybe a little bit of what the landscape looks like in terms of mental health and a bit about the problem that this training is seeking to provide solutions for.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's very close to my heart. I had a tough childhood, tough adolescence. I felt really unsafe at home. I felt really unsafe at school. I was afraid. I was bullied. I flunked high school. And, you know, a lot of the things I did were in reaction to my fear, my insecurity. I would hide, I would daydream, I would escape. I wouldn't do my schoolwork because I didn't want to fail. And then on the other extreme, in response to my fear, sometimes I would lash out and get into fights and be, you know, really acting out. And the whole time I was growing up, I was like, what is wrong with me? I looked out and I saw everybody else was doing better. Everybody else had friends. And I couldn't figure out what it is. So when I became an adult, I decided to figure it out and fix whatever was wrong with me. And what I discovered was that the secret that I was keeping, that I was afraid, that I was insecure, was the same secret everybody had. And so that kind of put me on this path of almost wanting to time travel and return to my youth, but then be able to talk to my younger self and explain what I needed to do, how I needed to kind of respond to that fear, that insecurity. Because fear and insecurity are just a constant. I discovered everybody felt fearful. Everybody felt insecure. I've worked with youth all over the world, but I've also worked with CEOs. I've worked with professional athletes. No matter how high up you get, no matter how many times you ring that bell and succeed, you still feel insecure. You still doubt yourself. And so I realized after years of trying to fix myself and escape this fear, that what we needed to learn how to do was how to live with fear and how to respond effectively to it. And so that put me on the present path of acceptance and commitment therapy.
Excellent. Well, how you mentioned your experience. How common are these kinds of struggles, particularly for today's youth?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly hidden because especially teens don't like to talk about it.
Mhm.
But I would say in your classrooms, maybe at any given time, 1 in 5 of those kids would be going through some serious emotional turmoil. It could be anxiety or stress or sadness, or maybe their parents are going through divorce, or maybe somebody in their family has cancer. You know, when you start, all this is hidden from view, and we don't really know much about the lives of these kids. But when you look into it, when you do it with science, it's about 1 in 5, and it hits everybody eventually. You know, about 1 in 2 people at some point in their life will think about suicide in a serious way. So it's important. One of the most important things I like about this program, um, the training, is that it destigmatizes these struggles. It kind of helps young people and teachers and parents to know that struggle is the normal part of success.
Mhm.
And we shouldn't be trying to get rid of fear, but rather, well, if we can, it'd be nice, but if we can't, learning how to respond to it effectively.
Right. So values is something that is at the center of ACT, or acceptance and commitment therapy. Tell us a little bit about that and how values play a part in helping those of us going through these types of struggles.
Yep. So prior to kind of when I was young, my main response to fear was to try to escape it. And so you could live your entire life trying to escape fear, trying to escape distress, anxiety. And then I could imagine on my tombstone saying, "Here lies Joseph. Finally, he found a way to escape stress." And nobody would want that on their tombstone. So what values does is it flips the script. It says, okay, you're going to have a certain amount of distress in your life. If you want to be love, then you've got to risk losing someone. If you want to strive for success, you have to risk failure. Fear and desire are two sides of the same coin.
Mhm.
Okay, so how do we then deal with this? And we flip the script now. Instead of being the passive victim to distress, we acknowledge and accept that this is a part of striving, of wanting to love and create and succeed. And then we say, well, what would dignify this? And here we get to values. And values are something you can use with young people, very young people, elementary school kids, all the way up to adults. And it's the answer to the question, what is important to you? What kind of life do you want to lead? Another way to say it is, what's important enough that you're willing to have this distress to do it?
Mhm.
And the answer to that question, it for a young person, it kind of focuses them, because it's like if their life is just about escaping distress and trying to feel good enough, it's not very, they're just going to be reactive, they're going to act out, they're going to avoid, they're going to procrastinate. But if it becomes about, I want to be the best athlete I can be, or I want to go for an A in this class, that value of wanting to achieve, want to succeed, kind of makes the fear less powerful in their life. It makes it something that they carry rather than something they just react to and run from. And so values are what kind of give them focus and energy, and turns the fear into something that, instead of it being an enemy, it becomes a reflection of how much they care. So it
Wow.
flips the total script of
Can you
fear.
say that again, Dr. C? That was powerful.
Yeah, fear no longer becomes an enemy. It becomes a reflection of how much they care. Those of us who are parents, who have kids, know that this is the age of anxiety. Our kids are anxious, but so are we. It's like, once you have kids, the love that you have for them is just makes you so afraid sometimes, and that's just part of love.
Mhm.
But it's worth it, because I commit my values to spending time with my 2 children, being part of their lives. I'm afraid that things are going to go wrong. I'm afraid they're going to get sick, and all that comes along with it.
It's wonderful. So, the training will allow and really encourage students to identify those values and really
Yeah.
put those at the center of their life.
Yeah.
And they'll likely have different values than us as, parents, caregivers, educators. How can we as adults support their values?
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing, Jeremiah. That's one of the things people say about acceptance and commitment therapy. They're worried that people will pick values that are extremely different from their own. Like, I want to go on a killing spree or something. Well, nobody actually values that when you make it explicit. People want to connect. They want to belong. They want love. The people who are reacting to the fear and rejecting it are the ones that are more likely to, kind of be problematic. So the first thing is that when we support our young people's values, you need to trust that they're going to pick pro-social values almost all the time. You almost never hear an anti-social value. It really won't be different from yours.
Can you tell us the difference? There's some examples of pro-social and anti-social values.
Yeah, there wouldn't, I've never heard an anti-social value like I want to cheat people out of money or something like that. But pro-social, most of the values would be something like, I want people to like me. I want to connect. I want to have friends. I want to be successful. When I see young people acting out, a lot of times it's because they don't feel they belong and they're super insecure. Like kids who are on the verge of dropping out, a lot of times we think they're putting on this front of, I don't care, this is just stupid. They actually really deeply value belonging, being part of the community. But in school, everybody knows where you are in terms of grades. Everybody knows that you're the one that's flunking out, that you can't handle it. And as cool as everybody wants to pretend, that is deeply stigmatizing, and that person's terrified. And so they're reacting with that by more and more acting out. And we find that if we can help those young people, for example, become aware, look, you do value being in school, you do value hanging out with your mates. So you have this fear, which is justified, but look, you're smarter than you think you are. And how can we help you to succeed more? Okay, the teacher's being unfair, blah, 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 blah. But what do you care about? Like when you spit in the teacher's coffee, is that helping you to get more of what you want in your life? And it's like, it's really obvious questions like that, but it's like, it's a revelation to think, yeah, why am I doing that? That actually doesn't help me. So when you turn it onto them and ask them, what do you care about? Suddenly all that behavior that is acting out and destructive, suddenly they see it doesn't actually help them. And I think it can just shift the focus entirely. Okay, I'm afraid. I feel like this teacher doesn't like me, but you know what? Actually, this would be more effective. I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to see if I can change things because it's important to me. I don't want to be kicked out of school. I want to stay in school and hang out with my mates. It's something like that. So asking the question kind of puts everything into perspective, including a lot of the behaviors that are destructive in schools.
That's a lot to kind of take in, and it can be challenging at times for, when a student, is maybe acting out, it's attempt to meet a need that they have, but they aren't able to put quite accurately, is this accomplishing the need that I have, right? And it's trying to meet some kind of need, but they don't see that maybe ultimately is going to be helpful. Hey, if you joined us just about halfway through, just want to check in with you and say welcome to the Wellness Education Lab launch webinar, talking here with Dr. Joseph Cherokee, foremost leader on acceptance and commitment therapy, and especially for youth. He's the author of Your Life, Your Way. We are giving away 5 of these books here at the end, and he really has put together an incredible manual for students here, and we've had the privilege of working with him to make that something that is now a free online mental health resource. So just want to check in with you and let you know that's kind of the room that you've stepped into. So glad that you're here. We talked about values, and one of the things that ACT, or acceptance and commitment therapy, towards the end of the process, or as we continue to learn about it, is okay, what actions can you put into place, or value-based actions, right? Can you put in place as a student to move closer towards this value? So how can we as parents and educators support that? Can you get even more practical?
Yeah, I mean, look, the challenge is always you have to have boundaries. You have to have rules. But in that context, you can do as much as you can to support their sense of autonomy and freedom, because kids will just do the opposite of what you say, even if it's totally destructive to their life, if they feel they're being controlled. So I'd say you have to have, yes, you have to have clear, justified rules and boundaries, but you also, as much as possible, give them choice in that. And if you can't give them a choice, offer clear reasons for why the rules are in place. So a lot of times it will be how this, even though they don't like doing this, even though they'd rather stay up like till 3 a.m., here's the consequence if you do this. And so this is just a rule. And this is why I've done it. And so it's not always about just letting them do whatever they want, but as much as possible, giving them choices and supporting that, asking them what they care about.
Right.
And this is one of the most well supported evidence-based things you can do in the classroom, and with parents autonomy support, meaning giving them as much choice as you can in the context of a structure, produces positive outcomes, reduces bullying, improves school performance, all that stuff.
That's excellent. Excellent. So let's shift a little bit to the training, exactly, to the Wellness Education Lab online mental health resource. Tell us a little bit about it from your perspective, particularly around some of the skills and the way we walk, participants through the values within the course specifically.
Yeah, I mean, so the course actually does this. It does the evidence-based intervention on values, helping the young people to start to think about what do I care about, and how does my distress and my struggle that I feel at school and at home link to what I care about.
Mm-hmm.
And so it already starts to do that. There's a lot of really fun. We've working with your team. We've managed to create a lot of fun game-like activities. So I really think the kids will enjoy it. We know that it's you can't just lecture to kids. So I think what makes the training really cool is that it's very experiential. It's not didactic. So it's like remember I was talking about autonomy, support, and values, right? Well, the whole course is designed not to say you should do this, but rather here's an experience. Here's fear, and here's how you might react. What does this lead to? Don't believe what we're saying. Look to your own experience. So it's experiential and very autonomy supportive. And so it walks them through the basic skills of learning how to be willing to have distress, to do things that are important, willing to kind of see anxiety as what it is, not this horrible, overwhelming thing, but something that they're strong enough to hold. Being able to kind of divide their goals up so that they can maybe, if a goal is too much or too overwhelming, they can pick a smaller goal, and with the idea that no matter where they are in their life, they can always pick something, a small enough jump, something that they can do towards their values. So if they're very socially anxious, maybe they wouldn't, go to a massive party, but maybe they would make some small step towards connecting at a school club if that was less anxiety provoking for them. Right. So it kind of builds a lot of autonomy in there, but at the same time lets them learn through their own experiences how to respond better to their own insecurities and fears.
That's great. And then shout out to those that are working directly with students in a school setting. Just to share, Wellness Education Lab can be utilized as a tier 1, as a tier 2, or even a tier 3 intervention for your MTSS. So it's something that can be facilitated in, let's say, a health class or AP Psych or during PE, or it could be something that, school counselor, school social worker that you're using with a group of students and you walk with them, or even if you're working one-on-one with the student, it can be something that they take, with you, kind of walking with them. So really, however you'd like to integrate it, we give you the keys to place it where you'd like it to go. It is free, and it has, as Dr. C said, it's very engaging, very interactive. We've had, pilot partners and focus groups consisting of students and district leaders and educators, and really tailored that feedback to make it what it is today. We, will continue to accept your feedback for that. So, Dr. C, why does the training course focus so much on, you touched on it a little bit, but essentially relationships, community, social skills? What does that have to do with anxiety?
I'm an American, so I'm now living in Australia, but I grew up with the very individualistic, rugged, mentality of the Americans, very independent. And a lot of the images of strength that I grew up with were of independent men doing independent things and not needing anybody, the lone wolf. I don't want to show my age too much, but John Wayne riding off by himself. The modern world.
Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris. How about that?
That's right. Yeah. He's pretty independent. That's right. He's on his horse by himself.
Yeah.
The modern world, we know, Jeremiah, does not work that way. We work in teams and groups. No one person can know everything. And it took me forever to figure this out, to overcome that individualistic thing, that I should never seek help, that I should always be able to handle everything on my own, that I don't need anybody, that I got to be able to do it myself. But one of the big focuses of this course is, I think, teaching young people, this is the one thing I would have really loved to teach myself when I was struggling as an adolescent, is that you do need to be able to, you need other people. Sometimes you need to seek help because you shouldn't be expected to handle everything on your own. If 20% of your fellow classmates are struggling with this, then it's not abnormal, it's not weird, it's not wrong, it's normal. And so sometimes we do need to seek help. And in the future of careers, you need to be able to work with very diverse, different types of people and teams, seek help, give it, and be part of a community that's trusting and strong. Kind of like Wellness Together is. I've seen that with your organization, that you guys work very well together. And that the sum is much greater than the part then. So a big portion of this is, teaching them the value of seeking help and teaching them the value of building community directly, not just expecting it to come to them, but deliberately, seeking support from teachers, seeking support from the parents, seeking friendship and building that. I think that's going to be absolutely essential for their mental health and for their future success in a career. Like we talk a lot about, obesity and smoking as risk factors for death and for illness, but actually loneliness is as much a risk factor as those two things for death. So loneliness is equal to smoking about 10 cigarettes a day, just to give you a sense of how powerful that
10 cigarettes a day.
Yeah. And obesity, they're similar risk factors for death. So it's, we really emphasize academic learning and things like that. I really feel like learning how to manage our feelings, to respond effectively to our fear and stay focused on what we care about, that's one of the biggest lessons they can learn. And what they care about will often involve others and belonging to a community that gives support and also allows you a chance to provide support.
Yes, could not agree more. Relationships, the quality of those, not just a quantity, but the quality of those really can be the biggest positive factor in our mental health, right? And just to share a few things, big picture, mental health foundations, what is that about? It is the 5 building blocks for mental health. That's where participants are going to learn about those 5 building blocks. Rethinking anxiety walks participants through the idea that anxiety is harmful, no question. It can be debilitating, it can be helpful, and it can be manageable. And with the approach of acceptance and commitment therapy, it can be something, as you mentioned earlier, Dr. C, that guides us toward what we care about the most. Understanding that our brains have this kind of fire alarm in our brains, right? This amygdala. And without it, we wouldn't be here. Our ancestors continued to make safe decisions so that we're alive today because there was an anxiety around, is that saber-toothed tiger going to eat me? I better leave. For our ancestors that didn't, they became breakfast, right?
Yeah.
So there's a few different ways, big picture on what these trainings are about. You mentioned earlier about folks seeking out for help. And as a fellow therapist, I know that at times when we are at maybe our unhealthiest mentally, when our mental health is very poor, it almost is even more difficult to reach out. Can you share a little bit about that factor, that for students that are really struggling, that can be a time when it becomes a very big barrier to reaching out for support?
Yeah, we call this help negation. The research shows that the more people in general need help, the least likely they are to seek it. So that is really important to look out for when kids are saying they don't need the help, or they're showing changes. Like a lot of the stuff in the courses, that the training courses show what to look for. Do you start to notice changes in the young person, even though they're not seeking help? That doesn't mean they don't need help. Is there change in their apparent appetite? Are they changing their behavior? Are they more withdrawn? So the course really walks through a lot of things to look out for, and it means that we probably have to take more of an active role in providing help. Like, I don't know if we can always just assume they'll seek it out and wait for them to do so. I feel like I wish we had the resources for this, but I wish you could just have a well-meaning, caring adult check in 15 minutes a week with every student in school. We had a mentoring program like that for kids that were at risk of dropping out. And it made a big difference just to have that one caring adult check in, even though they didn't ask for help or whatever. But then when you would check in with them, it was like suddenly you'd learn, oh my God, this person's going to go in for surgery and nobody knows about that. Or this person's family is falling apart and they have nobody to turn to. You discover a lot that way. So I think we adults have to take a proactive role in making sure our kids are okay, even if they're not seeking help from us.
Very good. So the training, what I hear is the training also supports taking this and directing them to long-term support, or maybe more crisis intervention support. Yes, there's been a lot of care and thought clinically put into this to make sure that all participants understand this is not a crisis intervention resource or an immediate suicide prevention, but rather can help prepare some of those folks that, okay, maybe it is okay to talk to somebody about this because I do feel less shame, or it is less stigmatizing, right? Because this is a part of life. Very good.
You could almost see the courses as helping people to see that seeking help is okay. They're almost like an intervention for help negation.
Very good. I like that term. Thank you for walking us through that. Is there any other content that comes to mind that we haven't discussed already that could be helpful for educators, school staff, parents and guardians, or our students 13 and up?
I mean, I think there's just a lot that's valuable in there. We do a whole section on resilience, and this is a lot of the stuff around, sleep, hygiene, and, internet use and things like that, that help the body be ready for the stress of the day. And that if you don't have resilience in your body, the young person has not been sleeping or has poor nutrition or all that, then they will be more reactive and less able to manage the distress during the day. So I think there's a lot in the course that we haven't been able to talk about, but they'll find extremely valuable.
Very good. Well, we really appreciate your time. Anything else before? I know you're going to be staying with us for Q&A, and Shawnee's put in there several times, if you have a question for Dr. C, he'll be staying with us throughout the entirety of the event. Thank you so much for being generous with your time, Dr. C. Before we kind of shift gears to continue with our launch event here, is there anything else that you would like to share for maybe some folks that are like, hey, I don't know if this is going to be a good fit, or I've tried some things before and it wasn't that helpful? What would you share with them?
I would say, because the ACT model, acceptance commitment therapy model, is based on the idea that suffering is a universal issue, so it's true for our kids and for ourselves, I would recommend they try it out with themselves and see how they experience. Just go through it's easy to adapt it to their own life, and what do they care about and how are they managing the stress in their life, and see if it works. Use their own experience to guide them. That's how I came to ACT. It really helped me personally. And so this is a parallel process where you have the young people, but the same skills that they need are the same skills we adults need.
That is great. Thank you so much. And thanks for staying on here with us. And you heard it, Dr. C said, well, just try it out for yourself. Because again, we have 3 different modules for our students 13 and above, our educators and school staff, so our admin that are out there, school board members, district leaders. If you're thinking, I don't know if I want to present this to cabinet or to my school counselors, go ahead and try it for yourself first. Parents and guardians, try it for yourself first. It's available in Spanish as well, with more languages coming on soon in the months ahead. So go ahead and check that out. And we're going to continue on. Remember, live Q&A is going to be a little bit later. Even though it asks for contact information and your name, all questions will be anonymous. So I will not be saying your name or where you're from, or your email, anything like that. So rest assured, it'll be kept confidential, really just to provide for you just a safe space to ask something that you may not want the world to know that is on your mind. Okay, so Dr. C, we'll see you in a little bit. And thanks again so much for sharing about the training. Okay, we have a couple of other guests, and I think this is going to be everyone's favorite part. No shade to Marlon or to Dr. C or to Rico or anyone else, but we have 2 amazing students that are joining us here this afternoon for the WEL launch event. I want to introduce you to Ashmita. They're a junior and a Mind Out Loud student director, as well as Alexa, a sophomore, and they are doing amazing work through our youth-led mental health initiative that's amplifying the student voice across California and beyond. You'll learn more about Mind Out Loud here in a moment, but would you please give a warm virtual welcome to Ashmita and Alexa. Hey, y'all.
Hi, let me switch my background really quick. This is from a previous.
That's okay.
meeting.
Look
But
at you.
thank
You're
you.
presenting all over the place. So, I mean, it's hard to figure out where you're at. Alexa, nice background.
Thank you.
Love it. Is that looks like you're in some kind of Manhattan hotel room or something. That looks awesome. Very cool. Well, thanks so much for your time. Really, really glad that you both are sharing here with us. How's the week been so far? Just get human real quick. How have things been?
It's been okay. We're studying for AP tests, which are coming up, which has been a little stressful, but this is the best part of this week so far.
That's great. Alexa, how about you?
I've been looking forward to this part of the week, and I'm super excited to be here.
That's great. Well, you two are just a couple of the many students that have taken this, really kind of our focus group to go kind of the beta version of the Wellness Education Lab. And so I'll address this to you first, Ashmita. What can students expect to experience when they participate in the WEL training? Can you share with us?
Yeah, of course. So when I took the WEL training for the first time, I was really excited to see how it would go. And when I started it, it was really easy to navigate and find my way to the beginning of the training. And it kind of takes you through a pre-course survey sort of thing where you answer a couple of questions just to check in, and then it gets you started with the training. And the first thing you see is this cute little character named Xenon, and they take you through the entire course, the entire module, and they're with you for the entire time, and they help you guide through different questions and different activities. And it's a really, really amazing thing to kind of have that friend next to you while you're taking the course. So that's kind of the first thing you see when you open the course. And then it takes you through some introductory like statements, just kind of introducing you to what the module is going to be about. And then it gets started with the 5 different chapters or sections that are within the module. And those chapters are all divided based on different learning objectives and things like that that are provided to you through the course. So you kind of go through those 5 things and you get like a little like check mark every time you finish one, every time you finish an activity. And then it takes you through sort of like a journey and experience through like different locations and different environments. And it's like really well made and perfectly curated for young students to use. And then at the end, you get this cute little certificate, and it's a really, really well done pathway that you can take to, have fun and also learn about really important things.
Perfectly curated. Wow, that is great. That's high praise. Very, very great to hear that it does, connect, in your opinion, with your peers. Alexa, what would you add to that, if anything?
Yeah, so when I first heard that WEL was finally getting ready to launch the course and they asked us to kind of look at it, I was a little concerned because I've seen a lot of other trainings and was really concerned about, is it going to be boring? Am I going to have to just sit here and sit here? But what I really appreciated about the WEL training was that it was really geared towards students. I think I really appreciate the fact that WEL took the time to kind of acknowledge the differences between parents, teachers, and students. And so I think it made me feel a lot more seen in the training, knowing that it was meant for students. And I also did with Xenon, felt much more engaged than I have in other trainings. So it was a very comfortable space to kind of go through it. And I felt like I learned a lot.
That's great. You're right. We definitely did think through intentionally, how can this be helpful for students, because their needs are much different than an educator, which has much different things on their minds than maybe parents or guardians of those students, right? And so it's great to hear that you do feel seen. Absolutely, that was a goal for that. So it's good feedback to hear. So you mentioned how it was relevant, how it was engaging. Let's go back to Ashmita. How long, and I may really blow it here. How long did it take you to finish the training? Just to check in on that. Do you remember?
I think it took me around 30 to 40 minutes to do the whole thing. And that was, I had fun while I was doing it. So it was like, time flies when you're having fun.
That's great. So about 40 minutes. Alexa, around the same time as well?
Yeah, it was about 40 minutes for me.
Okay, good deal. That's also very intentional. So every panel that participants go through are potent. They're very rich with content, evidence-backed, evidence-based, to make sure that it's helpful, even though it isn't, usually it's 45 to 60 minutes. So it's great to hear. Can you share with us, it's a little bit of a vulnerable question, and actually we'll start here first. How do you see Wellness Education Lab supporting your friends? And we'll start with Alexa. How can you see it supporting those that maybe they're walking through some mental health challenges?
I think it's pretty known that when youth face mental health challenges, it can take a lot for them to speak up about it, whether it be with peers or even to other professionals. I think that that's something that's very known. And so I think a module like WEL is very engaging because not only does it encourage this conversation and try and normalize this conversation to get youth to find people in their community who can help them through these challenges, but it also offers all of these resources that they can implement in their own lives and kind of navigate their own feelings without necessarily having to go someone they're not fully comfortable with.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for that. And Ashmita, same question to you. What would you add to that? How do you see it helping your friends?
Yeah, so something I've noticed in a lot of my peers and even people that are younger than me, like siblings, siblings of friends, is that they don't know much about mental health, or they know about it, but they don't really know how to reach out for help, or they don't know how they can gain support for themselves, or how they can learn coping methods and skills to take care of themselves. So this course and these modules do a really good job of introducing the topic of mental health to people who may not be very familiar with it or are not working in a space like this. So for people like my friends, I think it would be a really, really great thing to introduce them to, so that they can get a really solid understanding of what mental health is, how they can help themselves, how they can reach out to people if they ever do need help. And I think that introductory aspect of it really makes it like very easy to understand and easy to use, unlike some other trainings which have, a lot of complicated words in them, or they almost assume that these people know about their mental health already. It really takes you through the beginning steps and ensures that they're with you like through any, like if you get stuck or anything like that. It really understands that they could be beginners.
Wow. So what I'm hearing in that is that WEL is something that's accessible, and even for those that it's a brand new journey into what mental health is or why it's important, without like talking down to students, without making it almost insulting, as I know we as adults can do sometimes, when you all are like, yeah, we get it. Like, we can take more than this, right? You can give us a little bit more. So that's great to hear. So we'll start with Ashmita. Why do you think WEL matters so much? Like, why in 2023 is this so important in your opinion?
Yeah, in 2023, I mean, the past few years, there have been so much more visibility in terms of mental health and advocacy and raising awareness for it and destigmatizing it and things like that. So I definitely think mental health is becoming a lot more seen and accepted. But still many people aren't sure how to, reach out for support, or they don't know, like if they're feeling something physical in their body, they aren't sure whether it's something caused by a mental like deterioration in mental health or something like that. So I think WEL really matters because it really allows people to understand more about themselves and become more aware of themselves. And in a world that's starting to understand how much mental health matters and how much it's connected to the physical body and relationships and school and so many other stressors and factors from one's life, I think WEL really is able to ensure that people are understanding that and they're able to feel themselves and become more aware of who they are and also take care of their mental health.
That's great. Alexa, same thing. Why do you think it really matters? Why is it so important, especially for students in 2023?
Yeah, I would just echo everything that Ashmita said, that so many youth are dealing with mental health struggles. And so sometimes it can be hard, even knowing how many people are going through it, to actually acknowledge it within yourself and go through the process of trying to find people that you can turn to. And so I think that having modules like WEL is not only important to help supply another resource for students, but to just normalize the conversation, like I said earlier, in general, surrounding mental health and putting this conversation on school campuses, I think is so important and is going to have such a massive impact.
Great. What I hear in that is helps to decrease stigma, helps to increase mental health literacy is kind of the headline that I hear from both of you. Well, really appreciate, both of your, just giving your time to help us learn a little bit more about what students are experiencing and for the feedback that you've given us. Is there anything else that you'd want to say? I mean, you have educators and district leaders and school board members and community organization directors and people from across California and the US. I think we saw some Canada attendees as well. We likely have some outside of the US. If you had one thing to say to adults regarding WEL, is there anything that you would want to say that maybe you haven't already addressed? And Ashmita, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think one thing that I would like to say to all of you is that I'm really glad that WEL is able to understand and bring about the importance of mental health education in alignment with physical health education, because something I've seen in schools across the nation is that physical health is given such great importance and mental health sometimes gets overlooked and it's not provided for students to learn about. There's no set course or curriculum in schools that students can learn and understand through. So I think WEL does a really great job of doing filling that space and providing that mental health education that is so vital for all students.
Appreciate that national perspective there. Alexa, one thing you could say to them, what would you say?
I would definitely say being in a meeting like this is so inspiring, just knowing how many educators and people who work in the education field are willing to come together and even have this topic to be at a launch event around mental health. And so I think for me, it's a lot of gratitude and hope that this will continue to be a lasting conversation, that we're going to continue to look for the ways to meet all the needs of all types of students and meet their mental health points. And so I think that this is a start to something that's going to be much greater with WEL.
Excellent. Well, you both are leading it and we're so grateful. And I earnestly feel that many of us are going to work for one of you in the next 10 years. So thanks for the mental health advocacy work that you've been leading for some time now with Mind Out Loud. So this is the classic Zoom wave. And thank you so much for being here. I'm going to share a little bit more about the Mind Out Loud event. So let's go to that. Have a good rest of the week, Alexa and Ashmita. I want to share with you something that is upcoming actually next week. You don't want to miss it. We've had quite a few that have registered just in the past couple of weeks, but it is our third annual. It's a free virtual student event. It's going to be on Thursday, April 27th from 3 to 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Huge shout out to the MHS OAC, Blue Shield of California, San Diego County Office of Education, California Department of Education, and for here at Wellness Together, Mind Out Loud is our youth mental health initiative. This is a student-led year-long programming that really crescendos at the annual event. We have 1 hour of over 8 breakouts that our students are leading, our Mind Out Loud student representatives, which are all across California and beyond. And we've heard from many others across the US as well as outside of the US that want to participate as a student rep, and we're working towards making that a reality. But for now, we have our Mind Out Loud student reps that have created this and designed it, and we're going to have a big party. In fact, we're encouraging you all as educators, as adults leading youth. We want to help you throw a Mind Out Loud watch party. Go ahead and click on the link that Shani, I'm sure, has already put in the chat, or take a pic of that QR code. Take a look at Watch Party, and those are gatherings there on campus or at a safe facility for students. You tell us how many students are going to be there. We send the pizzas. And we have even more Mind Out Loud watch parties than last year. We had over 70 last year across California and the US. So make sure to sign up. Completely free. We have some special guest speakers that are going to be joining us. Students leading students. It's completely free for you. Would love for you to get connected. Hit up mindoutloud.org. wellnessmindoutorg. Find out more about watch parties, how we can support you. And if you already have something going that day and you're like, my kids would love some pizza, we have Mind Out Loud watch party after parties. Got some new lingo for you. And that's a chance for up to 2 weeks after this next Tuesday. We'll still send those pizzas. We'll have all this recorded. You can watch this however you'd like to do it, whether it's every day in your classroom, or maybe it's however you want to see fit, however it works for you. We can show that, and up to 2 weeks afterwards, we'll still send pizzas. So just let us know, mindoutloud.org. You're invited, 3rd annual free virtual student events. Well, we have a little bit of time left to ask a few questions to Dr. C, and some have been coming in already. Let me go ahead and pull these up here. And team, could you please message me one of the questions just on our webinar stream, if you wouldn't mind that real quick. So if you'd like to ask a question to Dr. C, content expert, and really created the foundation for Wellness Education Lab. He's the author of Your Life, Your Way, and you'll be able to receive, and you'll be in a drawing to receive one of these books we're going to hand off, and have some questions coming in. Thank you for all those that submitted those. You can also have a chance to submit your feedback, okay? First question here is this. Actually looks like it might be a question more for us, Dr. C, but I'll even ask it anyway. Once you go through either the student version, the parent guardian version, or the educator modules, can you go back through the modules again? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. You can actually go through it multiple times if you'd like. And it does include a certificate of completion at the end, because maybe you want to give your students credit for the class they're taking. Maybe it's a part of your PD, your learning day. They're coming back from break or something, and you want to be able to provide those additional hours, and you just have your staff email you the completion certificate. So we do have that available for you as well. You'll get there. Okay, let me ask this question. Let me go over to a different screen here, and that is, let's see. What are some ways to check in with students, Dr. C, without being inauthentic or nosy or invading? As we know, students oftentimes, particularly those that are guarded, can have some walls up, right? So what are some ways, as a therapist, as someone that's been working with youth, that we can check in an authentic and a caring way?
Yeah, I am very, very indirect with teenagers, rarely asking them directly about things. So, for example, I work with my son's basketball team, and I just try to be in the environment as a supportive adult, but not too intrusive, and give them the opportunity to kind of have informal conversations with me. But certainly, I mean, you can have very indirect pathways in, like just maybe not making it about, are you feeling anxious today? Or are you struggling today? But, asking about things they care about. And that will sometimes, on the other side of value, is often fear or pain. And that will often open the door for them to talk about other things. So I think I like to have a really positive focus and kind of directed towards values and oriented towards things they like and care about, and creating a safe enough context that they feel like they can talk about other things as well. You're right, it's often very hard to go directly at it. This is the big problem with teens. Not a problem, but a challenge.
Yes, thank you for that. Here's a shout out to Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to the ATL for this question. I can address this one. They have asked, is there an opportunity to license this program for rollout in other states and regions? If you have access to a device and to Wi-Fi, have at it. This can be used. This is for you. And it's a special thanks to Blue Shield of California, California Department of Education. Yes, it was created by folks here, but this is throughout the US. This is yours to use however you see most fit. So you already have it, have access to it, and let us know how we can improve upon it. And I'm hoping all the best for you and students out there on the East Coast in Georgia. Okay, let's see. This is a shout out to Detroit, Michigan. For educators, how do you build boundaries with middle schoolers and try to build respect And this one's for you, Dr. C. No.
Oh, that's for me. Oh, okay. Sorry.
I thought you were thinking, I was like, I know, this is a
I was
big
thinking of
one.
somebody else. How do you build, okay, so how do you build boundaries and respect for middle schoolers? Wow. That's something I don't know if I'll be able to answer it. I mean, I would always try and answer that question in the context of other school staff talking about what that means concretely. What do we mean by boundaries? I guess I'm not quite sure what they're referring to. Are they talking about?
You had mentioned autonomy support and providing boundaries for students and really supporting their values. So how can we do that, especially in middle school where we are trying to feel comfortable on our own skin, right? And not really knowing maybe what's appropriate or what's a healthy expectation. What are some ways that our folks that work with middle school students can help support that for them?
Yeah, I mean, you do have to have rules, and I think the best thing you can do is, I mean, it's all the things that I think teachers are taught, you know, like make sure you give the reason for the rule and you stay consistent with it. You enforce it regularly. No elevating a voice or making it personal. There has to be consequences, and I guess those consequences have to be followed consistently. So there's all of that, but in the context of that, inviting the young person to talk about it, and if there is some ways in which they can make choices or they can enforce things themselves, give them the chance to do that. So with the basketball team, for example, I will have them sit down and come up with the team rules and why they're coming up with it. So the more that they can do it, the better. They will often see the need for this. A lot of the young people's reaction against authority is it's just reactive. You know, it's not really a considered like what's in my best interest kind of thing. I hope that helps.
Very good. Yes, I think so. I think that provides some good direction and even some encouragement that it may be different from student to student, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So here's a great question, actually. Here where we're at in Sacramento. Shout out to Sacramento. This is question comes in, and this is a good one. And this is really the heart of it, is the A in acceptance and commitment therapy. So Dr. C, if you could share one piece of advice with individuals struggling to accept themselves and their circumstances, what would it be? And how would you encourage them to implement it into their lives?
Yeah. Now that, when you say it that way, it sounds almost like they need to accept themselves before they do something that they care about. And so that's a kind of non-acceptance acceptance. So acceptance is extremely tricky. Acceptance looks like this. It isn't going to mean that you're not going to have self-doubt, or you're not going to think you're a complete loser or you're stupid or whatever. Acceptance looks like this. It's like accepting that those thoughts are occurring, that I'm not smart enough to get my, in Australia, it's called the HSC, but a high grade, say, having that thought and still acting consistently with getting good grades. In other words, acceptance is more about allowing those negative thoughts to show up while you engage in the world, doing things that you care about. So the key is not to make it about like, if I accept myself, then I'll feel good about myself. What will happen though is if they don't fight, the negative thoughts show up, the doubt that shows up for me. So I'm, you know, old, I'm not gonna say my age, but well, 55, I'll say it. And I still have doubts all the time, every day, okay? So acceptance isn't about not having doubt. It's about making space for doubt, which arises as a result of valued action. It's accepting the reality of self-doubt. You see what I mean?
Right.
It's
Instead
not
of
about
trying to push against it.
Yeah. So acceptance isn't going to lead you to think positively about yourself all the time. It's about freeing yourself from the need to have a positive thought about yourself before you act.
Right.
Almost everybody who's acted has had doubt before action. That's yeah. That's why we often need faith, because sometimes we have to take action even when we doubt ourselves and doubt it can work.
Yes, very good. A couple of logistics questions. Someone actually from in Southern California asked, where can we find the recording after the live meeting? It's going to be on wellnessedlab.org. You can find it on the website, and just check that out here within the next month. We'll have it on there after post-production has a chance to clean some things up on there. And then additionally, someone said here in California, I doubt my high school freshman could identify his values. Just want to say thanks to the parent or guardian for being vulnerable and sharing that. How can I help him identify his values without sounding cheesy or embarrassing? Before I toss it to you,
Yeah.
Dr. C, just know that the training goes about it in a way that isn't cheesy. Of course, that's subjective, but it goes about it in a way to highlight the importance of the value of it. And Dr. C, I'll turn it to you because I'm sure you've worked with
I
plenty of
totally
high school
understand that.
freshmen or
Yeah.
grade 9, I think you'd say, that
Yeah.
maybe they don't know what they want and might be
Yeah.
perceived as cheesy. What would you tell this parent?
Absolutely. I don't know how I became so uncool in my kids' eyes. I mean, I'm uncool no matter what I do. I'm uncool, and everything is cheesy. So we tend to be very indirect. But you don't have to use the word values or approach it that directly. That's why the Discover is a big part of the model. It's about helping them to explore through trial and error and find out it doesn't have to be like the word value, but like, what do they love doing? What do they like doing? What do they care about? And just conversations like that. Like, I think the training module helps them do it more informally. You know, it's true that they don't like it, but you can orient them towards what's fun and meaningful and cool, and kind of orient them towards that, and helping them to have more of that is really what the goal is. But very, very gradually, through shaping and noticing what they like doing, what they don't like doing, you can kind of support their value without them having to kind of very explicitly say, I value this or I value that.
Right, right. Very good. Well, again, thank you, Dr. C, so much just for decades of dedication and commitment to this work. This was not hype earlier. This is a historic day, and we're just so glad to be able to provide this resource around the world to those that have access to a device and to Wi-Fi at wellnessedlab.org. And so thank you so much for your partnership through this. And now I get a chance to share a bit of how we access this and give away some of your books. So we'll see you sometime soon, I hope. But happy Wednesday to you out there. And thanks again for the work that you're doing.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for everybody for being here.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so how do we do this? How do we go about it? Well, many of you have already jumped in. Step 1, going to wellnessedlab.org. wellnessedlab.org, or you can scan the picture there. Once you are there, you can click on the Start Training Now button that you're going to find at Wellness Ed Lab, all right? Step 2 is you're going to be asked to create an account with the username and password, or we've been able to provide just a Google login. And this should be helpful for servers and for your IT folks to be able to get around any type of, an outside domain emailing, you or your students, because sometimes that can be a bit of a challenge. So you can log in with Google. There are some additional ways that we're looking to add to this, but for right now, we do have Google that you're able to log in with that, or you can just create your own username and password. So that'll be step 2. And then step 3, you can browse all those trainings. You're going to find 8 different trainings. And that's going to be rethinking anxiety for students, parents and guardians in English, parents and guardians in Spanish, and educators and school staff. And then mental health foundations for students, mental health foundations, parents and guardians in English and Spanish for educators and school staff. So 8 different trainings are there for you. Go ahead and complete those. You get your post-training questions, you get your certificate there. That is how you do it. Again, 60 minutes or less, completely free, evidence-based acceptance and commitment therapy there at the foundation. It aligns with Senate Bill 224 here in California. It has been created to align with the California mental, emotional, and social standards for health. So it fits right into some of those things. I'm not a foremost expert on other states, but again, just with the support of California Department of Ed, Blue Shield of California, we've been able to provide this. Also for you as an educator, because there's very limited time and there's a lot to do. We have developed a quick start guide for you. Quick start guide. And Shani, I'm sure, has placed it in the chat, or she will. You can check it out at wellnesstogether.info/quick start guide, or you can click on that QR code. This is going to help you kind of give a step-by-step, like, I'm a school counselor, how do I use this? I'm a district leader, how do I use this? I'm a school admin. How do I use this? I'm a teacher. How do I use this? What are some helpful tricks? It could be contacting IT to make sure everything is okay and smooth for students to access this without any snags. So go ahead and pick that up, the Quick Start Guide. You can download it so you can integrate this into the great work that you're already doing in classrooms, at your school sites, or even throughout your school district. Shout out to the design team, our communications team for creating this. This will be very, very valuable. And that's the Wellness Ed Lab Quick Start Guide. How do we implement this, right? Maybe you're bought in, now it goes to the how, need a quick way to get to it. Go ahead and download that Quick Start Guide, all right? Okay, we've submitted our questions and we've had a chance to be put in the drawing because we're gonna give away 5 different copies of Your Life, Your Way, right here by Dr. Joseph Cherokee and Dr. Louise Hayes. And this is really what is behind the scenes on Wellness Ed Lab right here. It's super helpful. Not only it would be for you, but for your students. And I have 5 of these that I'm going to give away here in the final few minutes of the Wellness Ed Lab spring launch webinar. All right, so here we go. Virtual drum roll, please. Our first winner is, oh my gosh, Alaska is in the house. Juneau, Alaska, Sandra Meredith. Sandra Meredith, your admin there at the Department of Education, Alaska Department of Ed. Sandra, we're going to send this to you. Our team is going to get in touch with you. Congratulations. Thanks so much for being a part of this. And we hope this is helpful for your students. Let us know how we can help. All right, this book is headed your way. Number 2, we have Oak Park, California, a counselor. Shout out to PPS folks here with us. Andrea Lanter. Andrea Lanter, shout out to you. One of these is headed your way. Congratulations. I wonder if Andrea is one of those who's like, I never win anything. You won today. Congratulations. All right. Next, let's go. Oh, awesome. Webster Elementary, a teacher, Northville, Michigan. Lorna Ruter. Lorna, Your Life, Your Way is headed to you. Our team's going to be in contact with you. Congratulations. Thanks for the great work you're doing out there in Northville. Sorry if it's, really if it said Northville, but that shows that I'm not a local if I said it wrong there. Okay, next, let's go to school social worker at Delano Union School District, Maria Amador. Maria Amador, congratulations. You won. Your Life, Your Way, headed to you. Thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for the work you're doing there in Delano, California. And then finally, oh, thank you, team, for sending these in. Let's go back to the Midwest. We're going to Woodstock, Illinois. We have a transportation. We have a driver, a bus driver, District 200. That is awesome. Thank you for being here. Tracy Milligan. Tracy Milligan, thank you so much. You are really the first face that our students see. Thank you so much for you and for your team and for any other transportation workers that are here joining us for the launch webinar. That really warms our hearts that you're here. We got one of these shipping out to Woodstock, Illinois. Thank you for being here. Thank you for getting our students safely into those schools there out in Illinois. Really appreciate you and the work that you are doing. All right, I think that will do it. It's 5:29 Pacific Daylight Time here from all of us here at Wellness Together School Mental Health, the California Department of Education, from Blue Shield of California, from the Wellness Ed Lab team. Again, my name is Jeremiah Aha. I serve as one of our directors here, just a small part of a great team. All the best to you as you support students. Remember, take care of yourselves. Thank you for being a part of the Wellness Ed Lab launch webinar. Bye-bye for now.